This video is directed at Capricious Black Box. He recently made a video that was on the subject of the source of morality. And he was discussing an argument between Deconverted Man and Matt Slick. And since morality, its sources and its applications, is of great interest to me in my channel, I wanted to chime in and direct my comments at Capricious Black Box, because I saw some, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say problems with the way you're addressing morality, Capricious Black Box, but it doesn't mean that anything that you said at all was wrong. I just feel like you were starting with the wrong places. Morality doesn't have an absolute standard. Morality also does not have an absolute source. Morality is ultimately contextual, and most moral judgments, of course, are made after the fact, where we judge something that has already happened and look at all the variables. Now, I also highly disagree with both Deconverted Man and Sam Harris's utilitarian idea of morality, because it is short-sighted. Morality is contextual. What is moral for the individual is not necessarily moral for the society, or vice versa. You mentioned that whole thought problem about the alien in shooting the human race. Well, let's say we all like freedom. Freedom is good. We believe that people should be free to do things. This is probably part of why you mentioned oppressive societies, like what Muslims do to women out in the Middle East. So think about it this way. Even here in America, the land of the free, we have a government that tells us a lot of things we can't do. And a large part of the job of the government, especially in terms of certain agencies like law enforcement, is to restrict your freedom. You can't do a lot of things because it's against the law. So if restricting and limiting freedom is oppressive, then the government must be evil, right? It must be evil to have a police department and a CIA and everything, and laws that restrict your freedom. But you see, that's contextual, because there's such a thing as the greater good. And that's also why I want to object to you reflexively rejecting the idea of subjective morality. Morality is subjective, partially because it is contextual. Now, see, biologically, we are empathetic social creatures, so there will always be a root cause of morality in our empathy, that we are instinctually driven to care about people. And of course, that is a facet of the root of morality that is most often exploited by theists, saying that God has written on your heart what is moral. Well, biologically, you are predisposed to find babies adorable and cute and innocent. And you don't just see it in human offspring, but you see it in all animals, and any animal that portrays or has the characteristics of an infant. Things like a koala bear, for instance, or a puppy dog with the big eyes and the diminutive facial features. Looks like a baby, and you want to protect it, you want to coddle it, you want to be nice to it. This is a biological imperative. However, that doesn't necessarily make any sense on a societal level. Societies have to function on the order of the greater good. And I wouldn't say the maximum good for the most people, because I think that's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's ludicrous, I think, the way Sam Harris does. And it's impractical. It's extremely impractical to try to imagine that sort of scenario, because it doesn't exist. There is not a moral standard. There's also not a root of morality. Because also in the contextual nature of morality is the consequential things. A lot of morality is simply fear of consequences, or a desire to not have consequences. A lot of us would be perfectly happy say, pirating music. Sony makes zillions of money. The people under their music label, those musical artists, are millionaires. Who cares if I steal a song that would cost me $1.50 on iTunes? Or, movies make millions of dollars around the world. Who cares if I pirate my $8 worth or $25 worth, or whatever the Blu-ray costs? And it's the societal aspect of, well, we can't have everybody doing that, and a bunch of individuals doing that adds up. But if you think about the individual artist, the individual record label, and the individual taking a copy of that, it's very easy to explain away the individual. But if you look at the society, where everybody's pirating shit and there's losses in the millions from it collectively, it becomes a different issue, because morality is contextual. And it's, well, misleading, Caprice's Black Box, although I have no doubt that you didn't do this on purpose, to equate societal morality and individual morality and interpersonal morality. These are all different things that matter differently on scales, ballparks, arenas, country, state, city, family, individual. Different. Because morality is contextual, and a lot of it is consequences. And the very best evidence for why there is no absolute standard of morality is in that there is such a thing as a moral quandary. That it is entirely possible for a hostage situation to go like, throw me a pizza through the door or I will shoot half of these 10 hostages. This happens. And you're giving this guy a free pizza. You're letting him steal. Or you're giving him a fucking plane or a bus or whatever. But there are things that we hold in higher regard. People's feelings might be less than people's health and people's well-being and safety. And people's well-being and safety may be less than what there is to society. I mean, is it wrong to imprison people? I think so. But yet, we imprison millions of people. Why? Because they're a threat to society. Well, not all of them are, but again, this is a different issue where we argue which crimes make somebody a threat to society, which don't. Which, violent crimes or sexual crimes should be held in different regards to theft and so forth. It's all contextual. And this is what I want you to keep in mind. Because like I said, I don't necessarily think you said anything that was incorrect, except for denying that morality is subjective. But that's a wiggle room there, because subjective is the wrong word. Society is consequential and contextual, which is different. Because there are definitely ways to argue that our society is better than a Muslim society. Sharia law is oppressive and terrible for people. So, of course, it's ridiculous to say, well, they've made their own morality. But the thing is, how are you looking at this? Are you looking at their society or their society compared to our society? Because morality is also comparable. And a lot of the ways that we make moral judgments is by comparing. And this is the one leg that Sam Harris and Deconverted Man have to stand on as, constructivist or whatever. In that, yes, you compare often. Am I as bad as Hitler? And there are standards, but they are not set in stone. And there are always situations that are moral gray areas, moral quandaries. War, of course, is always an easy place to look. It's too quick to go to genocide when you think about the millions that die in war. And what is the war for? And what is the goal? What are you protecting or trying to stop? Always context. Always. Always context. So, yes, morality is subjective because it's contextual, because it has to do with the consequences. And we must always measure what will happen because of something. And the way we judge events in the past are from what were the consequences. So that is the way it is subjective, because there is no objective morality. There is no standard that is inarguable. Every moral statement is falsifiable. And if it isn't, it's ridiculous to say, well, this is always wrong. Well, no. There is possible. You can't say it'll never happen. You can never say, crush this baby with a sledgehammer or else I'll nuke a city. That will never happen. It can happen. And I have the balls to say, crush the baby with a sledgehammer. Because you can weigh 10 million lives versus one. You can. And it's, I think, a measure of cowardice that somebody wants to say on principle, well, killing the baby is wrong. Yeah, killing the baby is wrong. But in this situation, you don't have a choice. So you can judge the person for killing the baby all you want. But we all know in our heart of hearts that killing the baby is the right thing to do. Because good and evil are stupid, loaded words. There is a right and a wrong. And there's no 100% right, and there is no 100% wrong ever. And that's why morality is consequential, contextual, comparable, and really subjective. Thanks for watching.